Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of Bank to the Future Live. If all's working and going to plan, we should be live on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube, and you can join us wherever you are, however you want to join us. This episode, for those of you that don't know, we're going to be discussing the Bank to the Future identity solution and how that relates to our new use case that's coming up for the Bank to the Future token. For those of you that are not familiar with the show, I give a lot of content. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I regularly give content on crypto, Bitcoin, and this week has all been about Facebook. It's been a really, really interesting political week for the crypto markets, Bitcoin, and with Facebook hearings. But you can check out my Twitter. This is just for our Bank to the Future investors that want to understand more about what's coming up, what we're doing at Bank to the Future, and get your questions answered. If you're a regular investor on Bank to the Future, or maybe you're a new investor that wants to build a portfolio of fintech companies and crypto companies involved in the future of finance. And so we're going to go straight in. I'm just going to go over to my show notes. Just before I get started, do remember we like to increase the audience as much as we can. So if you can retweet, if you can like, if you can share wherever you are, and also please do use the live chat on YouTube if you're watching from YouTube, so that we can take your questions, or maybe you're over on our Telegram channel. In the Telegram community. In Telegram, the group was set up originally for our token sale. So the handle is at BF_token, and you can get your questions answered there. Or you can use on Twitter the hashtag BFLive, and we'll check that for questions. We've got Famida moderating, and she'll let me know if there's any technical challenges, but she'll also be looking out for questions from the community, so that we can make sure we address those in the second half of the show. So the first thing we're going to do is just give a quick overview of what's happening on the BnkToTheFuture.com platform at the moment. And then we can start to go through some portfolio news, obviously with Facebook dominating the news with the launch of the hearing for their cryptocurrency. Everyone's been drowned, I guess, in the news that's been surrounding that, as the entire world of politicians globally engage in cryptocurrency. So it's been an extremely exciting week. I've never seen it on such a scale as I have this week, where anyone who's anybody in the world of politics, banking, central banking, regulators, on such a global scale are engaging in the conversation of cryptocurrency. Some are producing, really interesting insights in terms of their understanding of cryptocurrency. Others are just showing their ignorance, and others are just completely comical. If you saw the comment about or the video, the clip out there where the Senate or the congressman was talking about how you define a shitcoin, which was very comical. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen shortly and just head over to my show notes. So just give me a second, and we can discuss what's new at Bank to the Future. Before I share my screen, so I just wanted to go through new pitches live. So the current pitch is only available if you're a member and you're not a premium member. And just a recap, a premium member means that you hold a minimum of 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens on either your BnkToTheFuture.com account on the wallet, and we'll be revealing a new interface that's coming soon for the fund section of the account. I know a lot of people have been asking for that, and we're happy to show you a sneak peek of what's coming. But if you own 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens and you stake them on the platform, then you will be a premium member and you will see deals that other people won't necessarily see. Also, if you are a person that understands crypto and you want to do that in a self-custodial way, then head over to the App Store, go to iOS and Android, search for the BF wallet, and you can set up the BF wallet. Remember to store your backup code in a secure way, write it down offline and store that somewhere safe, because that is the keys to your private keys. And if someone owns your private keys, they got your money. We don't have the private key. We don't have a backup. We don't have the username or password. This is self-custodial, meaning you take care of your own security. You can do that if you're comfortable with that process. So download the BF wallet, and you can connect it with your BnkToTheFuture.com account. If you hold 10,000 BnkToTheFuture tokens minimum on your BF wallet, then you will also be a premium member. So premium members and non-premium members, what do they see at the moment? Well, we currently got 2 campaigns live, one for premium members, one for non-premium members. And the first is CoinFirm. CoinFirm is in the right place at the right time, I guess you could say. One of the big debates at the moment is the Financial Action Task Force is requesting that crypto exchanges adhere to some of the same compliance standards as banks, and all of the exchanges are going to have to make adjustments accordingly. CoinFirm, which we're going to send an email out to all of our investors today, hopefully, is just being signed off by compliance at the moment. Then that will be a notification on the CoinFirm pitch. So all of our investors will be notified of that. CoinFirm is just about, it looks to pass its minimum funding goal, which means that once it hits its minimum funding goal, all funds invested go ahead and it can either continue on to the total funding goal or can decide if it wants to go into overfunding once it hits that. But CoinFirm is an application that allows companies to comply with many of the money laundering requirements and adjust to some of the changes that are happening with the new Financial Action Task Force regulations and requirements. They currently support for the Bitcoin blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, and they've just announced support for the XRP blockchain as well. So that's the one that's live for all investors, whether you're a premium member or not. For premium members right now, we are doing the secondary market initial allocation for blockchain.com. Blockchain.com is one of the oldest companies in crypto, and they have the largest number of self-custodial wallets in the world. Blockchain.com is going to be the next company they're going to put live on our secondary market. And the way that it works is all premium members get the initial allocation of all deals before they go onto our secondary market. We mailed that out. If you are a premium member and you didn't receive that mail, contact our support. They'll make sure that you get the link. They'll just check that you are a premium members, and they'll make sure that you get that backdoor link. And we'll send to you on a special email list all deals 48 hours before they go live. And some of the ones that often we get deals that don't go live because they were all sold out to the premium members. So those are the 2 pitches that are live on Bank to the Future at the moment. Remember, deals that we've got coming soon. We've got Edge, which is we invested in the early seed round when it was known as Airbit. But they've got a wallet, and they've created a service which prevents you having to write down those 24 seed phrases when managing a wallet where you own the private key. And they've turned it into a secure way of just doing it through a username and password. So that's, I think, something that's going to be really important as we move forward to more crypto adoption. Now the whole world is talking about our industry. People are going to be looking for easy ways to engage in it. We're also happy to announce that a deal that we've got going live soon is Concrete. Concrete is a securities token issuance platform, Australian-based, and STO issuance platform. We'll be announcing a partnership with them shortly, but Concrete will be live and coming soon. We're just getting that pitch ready and signed off. And we've got more that we don't want to announce yet, but we'll be announcing future episodes of Bank to the Future Live. Now, remember, those are primary markets. So those means new deals that are issuing new equity or deals that are going to be going live on our secondary market where we're distributing the initial allocation to our qualifying investors. We also have our secondary market. Now, the secondary market is where you can buy and sell indirect shares in the largest companies in crypto. So just remember, just to recap, everything happens via one of our SPV structures. Last week, we went through lots of different terms. So the show was where we went through all of the terms that an investor would need to know before investing in deals on BnkToTheFuture and before becoming a crypto investor in general, some things that you should understand when investing in this industry. So if you want to go through those terms and you missed last week's show, then head over to our YouTube channel and check out episode 21 of BnkToTheFuture Live. One of the terms that we defined was SPV, which means that it's a special company that we set up, and every share in that special company is backed by one share in the underlying company. And so when you're investing in CoinFirm, you will get a share in that SPV, and the SPV will subscribe to shares in CoinFirm, and every share in the SPV is backed by one share in CoinFirm via our structure. And so this is what allows us to kind of get the best of getting deals that want to work with us because they only have one investor on the cap table. It doesn't cause all the challenges, regulatory issues, and all the problems with the governance of how to deal with multiple investors. And then BnkToTheFuture can deal with the multiple investors behind the SPV. On our secondary market live right now, we have SPV shares in BitPay was the latest one to be added. Remember, we're still in beta. All of our qualifying investors can still use it, but the mechanism for depositing funds to BnkToTheFuture.com right now in order to engage in the secondary market is a little bit more complicated than it will be when we come out of beta. So at the moment, if you deposit Tether to your account, you're able to purchase shares in SPVs that own shares in either BitPay, Kraken, Circle, Bitfinex, Coinbase, and Ripple Labs. Blockchain.com to come next, which will be the 7th deal to go live on the BnkToTheFuture secondary market. So we're really excited about that and coming out of beta. Many of you have been asking for an update on when we'll be coming out of beta. Well, there's several milestones that we want to achieve before we do that. Firstly, and this relates to, I'm going to start sharing my screen in shortly to go through these, but it relates to an automation of our deposit and withdrawal system, both on the fiat level and the crypto level. At the moment, because our whole platform was designed around investing in individual pitches, we launched the secondary market before we'd automated many of the deposit and withdrawal options for those that want to trade on the secondary market. And we'll be coming out of beta once those are complete, which we're estimating around about September. And by that time, the idea is that we've already got 7 markets live in beta. We may have more and up to 10 secondary markets for those that want to buy and sell indirect shares in the largest companies in crypto. So I'm now going to head over to my screen share, and hopefully I will disappear into the corner. And you'll be able to see some of the portfolio news. I'm just going to move these screens. I'm not sure what you see, but we can see Famida there and myself in the corner. If you see what I see, I'm just going to take a quick water break so that I keep my breath, my voice all fresh. And we're back. So I wanted to show you a quick sneak peek at some of the fun section of the account. So at the moment, it's not up to standard. We have a pretty ugly and hard to use interface when you go to the funds. We got some new designs that we've got coming up. So here's a little sneak peek. And what you'll be really happy, many of you have been confused because you expected us to operate like a crypto exchange where you deposit funds and it goes really quickly and the process is automated. But remember, we are not a crypto exchange. We are a securities business. And what we've had to implement is additional compliance rules. Now, remember, the Financial Action Task Force is making crypto exchanges adhere to some of the similar standards that we have to as a securities business. So it's kind of merging and converging on each other. That's why our process isn't as fast as automated as you might see, because we have additional compliance requirements. However, we're happy to say that in the next coming months, many of those processes will be automated. And one of the problems that people have right now is we require them not to necessarily send funds from an exchange. But once the automated process is complete, you can send those from an exchange, a crypto exchange. You can send them from your wallet, your self-custodial wallet, your Trezor wallet, your hardware wallet, Coinbase, wherever you want to send them. We'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to get those funds in a faster and better way, because we've done many of the automation that we needed in order to continue our compliance standards, but at the same time be able to speed up and process that in a way that most of our users are used to. So you'll be able to see here kind of the value of the funds that you hold, and you'll be able to easily deposit and withdraw them and see the history of all the transactions. I'll find some more. I'm just going to switch my camera off while I'm going through this. And you'll notice that there's no longer that message saying do not send from an exchange. Just in case you did send from an exchange, just contact our support. We will be able to match it up. But we require seeing it on the blockchain, and sometimes when you send it from an exchange, you don't get a blockchain record there. But don't worry, if you did do that, we can still do it manually and match it up. But if you want the fastest process, then please don't send those from exchanges. But once we switch to the new process, you'll be able to see that a lot faster and better. And then you'll be able to, one other thing you'll be able to do is, because we've got a deep banking partnership integration, you'll be able to add bank accounts. And if you send funds, what we're going to be eventually later this year, you'll be able to send those in any cryptocurrency, sorry, not any cryptocurrency, most of about 30 different fiat currencies. And we'll be able to convert those for you into US dollars so that you can gauge in the secondary market, because everything at the moment on our secondary market is priced against the US dollar. Obviously, we have also acquired the altcoin.io technology in order to next year launch our securities token exchange and our BnkToTheFuture token exchange, with the BnkToTheFuture token as the base pair. But that will also allow you to engage with different securities tokens and equity-backed security tokens using Bitcoin, the BnkToTheFuture token, and possibly Ethereum as the base pair, depending on how that progresses. We will keep you up to date on different episodes of BnkToTheFuture Live as we progress with that vision and mission. But here you'll be able to say, a much nicer interface. You'll be able to save the bank details that you send the funds from will be automatically saved here. But you can also save your different accounts to request withdrawals to, preventing you having to enter that all the time. And you'll also be able to enter your crypto wallets so you can save certain wallets. And much more better interface at the same time. It's much, much faster. So we're really excited about bringing that to you. Also, just before I go through the portfolio section, I want to discuss a bit about the topic of today, which is the BnkToTheFuture identity solution. So we're really excited. We've been hinting at it in the past, but one of the things that we've noticed is that because we've got one of the world's largest community of crypto investors that have been investing in fintech and crypto companies, many people have been through our compliance processes that we have to adhere to for international securities laws. And they've been through the process of verifying their identity. They've been through the anti-money laundering requirements that we have to adhere to. And they've been through the certification requirements. But many people would like to use that I guess you could call it an identity, for engaging in the securities token ecosystem. So what we've been really busy working away on is extracting out the process of you verifying your identity, registering with different broker dealers that are part of the BnkToTheFuture ecosystem, and also the verification processes, so that you can then extract that and use it, for example, on our BnkToTheFuture exchange when we launch the securities token exchange in 2020, but also different parts of the ecosystem. And so we're really happy to announce that we've already launched the Bank to the Future identity for companies and organizations that want to register on BnkToTheFuture.com. But in the coming weeks, we'll be launching the ability for individuals to use that Bank to the Future identity solution. And because we'll be encouraging people to re-verify and recertify their status, we're also going to create a new use case for distributing Bank to the Future tokens. So we want Bank to the Future tokens in the hands of as many people as possible that are engaging in and building a portfolio of either the securities token market or the different products that in our equity portfolios. And so we want to get it in the hands of many people. So we currently have approximately over 80,000 qualifying investors on BnkToTheFuture.com. And we're going to be integrating the Bank to the Future identity solution with the Bank to the Future token, so that when people take actions on their Bank to the Future identity, complete their certification, complete their verification, then they'll be rewarded with tokens, so that we can distribute more and more Bank to the Future tokens, which can then be used for premium priority access to deals, or getting a 50% discounted trading fees on our secondary market, or they can be used as the base pair in 2020 when we launch our securities token exchange. So we're starting to see the ecosystem progress. And as we're seeing that, we want to distribute more of the Bank to the Future tokens to more and more people so that they can start to use that in our ecosystem, as well as our integrations with external wallets like Exodus Wallet, Trezor Wallet, Coinbase Wallet, that have all been integrated, Coin Payments that allows all of their millions of merchants that are using Coin Payments to use the Bank to the Future token. So we're really excited about progressing that, but it's been requiring us to make more progress on the base technology that can utilize that token. So that's the update there. How are we doing for time? We're about 25 minutes in. And so I'm just going to, for the final 5 minutes, go through portfolio news, and then we're going to head over to your questions. We'll try and take some of the terms that we didn't get time to cover last week, or if we've got lots of questions, then we'll head over to those. So just before I do that, do remember, if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching somewhere else, if you want a notification every time we go live, then hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit that bell button, and YouTube will send you an email every time we go live. We didn't mail all of our investors because we didn't want to send too many mails, because today we're going to be notifying everybody about the Coin Firm deal. Also, if you've got questions, use hashtag BFLive on Twitter, or head over to Telegram. Our Telegram group is at BF_token, because it was the group that we set up when we launched our token. Or you can use the live chat on YouTube to ask those questions, and we'll try and pick them out. So there's not much news on the portfolio side. For those investors in storage, there was a new town hall, a new investor update we'll be pitching. Remember, for those of you that head over to the investor zone of the companies that you've invested in, that's where all of the private investor information is posted. We've got to be very sensitive. We can't just post it publicly. I know everyone would rather us engage in Telegram or Twitter, but we've got to be sensitive of the companies, and you as an investor should also want to be sensitive of that information as well. I think Coinbase had an announcement that they're launching some trading signals for people that want to engage in the Coinbase, I think Coinbase Pro platform, which is where they have their exchange. And Coinbase is currently, the SPV is live on our secondary market. And I think we just had one other piece of news, which is Poloniex, an old school crypto exchange, crypto to crypto exchange, one of the really early ones that survived. It was acquired by Circle. Circle is one of our portfolio companies, which the SPV is live on our secondary market. But they've moved from being a crypto to crypto exchange to also allowing bank and card payments. And so you can now use Poloniex outside of just the crypto to crypto exchange. I'm not sure if that's open to all users or a selected number of users, but there's some of the portfolio news. And that's really the only two stories, because everything has just really been dominated by all of the global politicians all around the world getting involved in the crypto markets. And so I think that's really a great time for me to put my camera back on, stop sharing the screen. So you should be able to see my face in the corner if all is working. And then if I stop sharing the screen, here I am. And I think at this stage, we're going to head over to answer some of your questions. So Famida, hopefully you've got some questions for me.
I do. Thank you very much. Well, we have some questions left over from last week as well. But we do have some questions about BF identity. So okay. I thought we'd start off with that since you mentioned it. And so I think you might have mentioned what other uses BF identity solution will have, but let's go through it anyways, if you can go into a little bit more detail. So which other platforms will use BF identity solution?
So initially, it would just be the BnkToTheFuture ecosystem, so that you don't have to, if anyone wants to engage in our securities token platform once we launch it, then you don't have to re-register. You can just simply use the BnkToTheFuture identity in order to port that data over to the new platform. Our forecast, and putting a bit of speculation on here, is we believe at some stage, many of the crypto exchanges, as regulations get tighter and tighter and tighter, are going to want to adjust to the securities token ecosystem. They're going to have to do that in a couple of ways. Either they're going to go through the whole process of getting global companies registered at local broker dealers, and go through the process that we've been through for years and years and years. Or they might want to use a simple plugin like the BnkToTheFuture identity solution, the BFID, in order to unlock the ability to trade securities tokens in compliance with securities laws on their exchanges. Many of our customers, our portfolio companies, have expressed that at some stage, once liquidity picks up in securities tokens, they're going to want to make such adjustments. And so while we're battle testing the BnkToTheFuture identity solution, on BnkToTheFuture.com, integrating it with the BnkToTheFuture token, then allowing it to be used on the BnkToTheFuture exchange, the securities token exchange, when we launch it later. We can also start to use that for the BnkToTheFuture wallet, obviously, when unlocking securities tokens. And then we think that there's going to be a demand out there for others that would want to use the BnkToTheFuture identity solution for a much faster way of being able to comply with global and international securities laws that took us such a long time and many, many years to try and develop those processes, and they'll be able to benefit from that. So that's the longer term vision. We're not envisaging that happening until 2020, but we're building away. And we think that by integrating that with the BnkToTheFuture token, this is going to be a great use case as the industry evolves.
Okay, so the next question is, where will the documents be stored for BF identity and any other documents? Will it be stored on the blockchain?
No, because the challenge is that we haven't transitioned to a world where people can own their own ID yet. However, we are working with some partners and a pitch that will be going live shortly that will enable that to happen, whereby people can control their own data and share it. But the existing laws and regulations require that regulated broker-dealers, regulated securities business, they have to actually store that data in a way where they can control it, they can retrieve it, and it can be, and that is the laws at the moment. I believe in the future we will move to a self-sovereign identity solution, and we're looking at implementing the ability for people to hold their own identity documents on their own devices, but at the moment they're stored in our centralized database, because that's the only way to compliantly do that at this stage, where we can retrieve those in order to comply to securities laws and the different laws that we have to adhere to. we would certainly look at transitioning away to a self-sovereign identity as the world and laws adjust. But at the moment, lawmakers are getting very, very scared with Facebook's cryptocurrency. And so, that world that we want to transition to doesn't quite exist. But in future episodes of Bank to the Future Live and for premium members, we will actually be revealing one of our partners that we've been working with and that we will work with in order to enable that to happen in a more friendly, self-stored way in the future.
So the next question I have here is, how will the BF identity solution benefit the growth for BF token?
So anyone that takes certain actions on the Bank to the Future identity solution will be introduced to the Bank to the Future token because it will be used as a rewards token. And then those tokens can then be used in order to get 50% discounted trading fees in order to engage on our secondary market, or they can use that in order to find, upgrade, purchase more tokens and get priority access to all future deals. It will also be used as a base token on the securities token exchange that we're planning to launch in 2020. So really it's about a way of distributing it to qualifying investors that want to engage in the securities token ecosystem. And then also, if the Bank to the Future identity solution is used and adopted by other companies that are looking to adjust their cryptocurrency exchanges to a security token exchange, then this will be a methodology for distributing as many Bank to the Future tokens as we can get out there. And then they can be, because they can actually be used for different parts of the ecosystem, and it's a targeted investor that's actually engaging in that ecosystem, then we see this as a rewards and distribution mechanism, which can then, the tokens can then be used on different parts as they continue to build their portfolio. So we see the token kind of like, I guess, Binance token is the token that rewards people in the cryptocurrency, crypto to crypto ecosystem. We see that this is a token that we want to, as we build out more and more parts of the ecosystem, be used in the growth of the securities token ecosystem and those building crypto portfolios.
So do you think the BF identity solution will allow investors or users to verify themselves on exchanges like Kraken and Coinbase and Bitfinex, which are BF's part of BF's portfolio?
We are aiming to build the technology to enable that, and while we cannot promise that that will be something that they agree to, we feel that we're perfectly positioned to enable cryptocurrency exchanges, particularly the ones that we built very strong relationships with over the years, like some of the ones that you mentioned that we're both an investor in, a partner, a strategic partner in, and have been helping and supporting those companies. If they decide that they want to adjust to the securities token ecosystem, they will either be acquiring their own licenses, in which case it's okay because we can collaborate in order to create more liquidity for the security token ecosystem, or they could decide that they want to use something like the Bank to the Future identity solution. And our part of our development is to try and build that in a way where we feel that that's a no-brainer for them to want to do that. So I can't give you a definitive answer, but part of the goal of what we'd look to achieve would be to achieve just that.
Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick look over at the live chat and see if there's any questions in there. Just bear with me.
Yeah, one of the challenges of moving over to multi-platform is that the questions come not in an organized way in one place, but they come from every direction. And we're trying to figure out exactly which tab and where they're coming from. So we've definitely made it more challenging for me there to
right. So I think I'm gonna come back to the questions in live chat. There are some questions in live chat. So I'm just gonna ask some questions actually that were left over from last week's live, which are more of the basic questions, more of the first user experience sort of questions. So what do you mean by margin trading?
Margin trading is a terminology used for those that want to speculate with more risk and make more or lose more when trading in cryptocurrencies or any asset classes. We don't use margin trading at Bank to the Future. We are simply plain vanilla, where you are every share that you purchase is a share that's backed by one share in the company. But think of a good way to understand margin trading is think of it like you put down a deposit in order to purchase a house, for example. And by taking out a mortgage, which you end up getting exposure or being able to control that whole house without actually buying or having the whole money for that house. Well, that's very similar to margin. Margin is essentially you putting down a smaller amount of money, borrowing it from someone. You pay an interest rate, and or that might be factored into the product or price, depending on how you do it. But it allows you to get greater exposure to, for example, a cryptocurrency or an asset using a smaller amount of money, which then means that it magnifies your losses or gains when you're actually engaging or trading in the ecosystem. So essentially, it's a much, much higher risk way of gaining exposure to price fluctuations in cryptocurrencies and different assets.
Okay, for the next question. Can we do short selling on the BF secondary market or the upcoming security token exchange?
Short selling is not part of the roadmap at this stage. We don't believe, in order to achieve short selling and margin trading and all those products, we need to first create an ecosystem that's deeply liquid. There are huge risks with allowing such products to happen on a product that's not liquid enough in order to manage that, as we've seen in many cases. So at this stage, we don't envisage it to be such a fast trading market. This is more still geared towards longer term investors rather than short term traders. If you want to go margin and you want to be short term trading, then you're either looking at the public markets or other products, or you're looking at cryptocurrencies that have deeper liquidity. This is still a product for long term investors that want to invest in the growth of the ecosystem and build a diversified portfolio. That may change in the future, but it's definitely not something that we see happening at this stage.
Okay, so next question I have here is, will BF list itself on the secondary market?
Yes, we will. We've got to, it's something we certainly want to do. Behind the scenes, we announced the acquisition of the altcoin.io exchange, but we're also working on 3 other deals. And those are going to create different pricing events for Bank to the Future shareholders and investors. We have approximately, through our SPV, about 450 investors that have invested in us over the years at different valuations and have been involved through the whole growth of us as a company over the years. Shout out to all of our investors that have supported us and seen so much change, and thank you for being a part and being there for us as we've navigated such changing environments. But yes, certainly we'd look to put our parent company on the secondary market. We're just trying to get the timing right around certain pricing events and deals that we're due to announce that are going to be impact both BnkToTheFuture.com investors, people that generally use our platform, or someone that holds equity in our company through the platform, or the Bank to the Future token holders. The announcements are going to be important developments for the ecosystem. So we will certainly have ourselves on the secondary market. We're just trying to get the timing right around some other deals we're working on.
All right, so I actually just got, sorry, I've got a dog here that I'm watching at the house that I'm staying at. So yeah, it's been a bit of a challenging live today. This dog gets a little bit nervous because when there's thunderstorms, it just starts wandering around and getting my attention. Anyway, sorry, I divert. Right. Okay, so the next question is from the live chat, actually. With the BF platform, can an ICO that already raised funds convert their tokens into a security token, meaning holders of the ICO tokens can buy equity of the company with their ICO tokens?
That's really interesting. So we have all the capabilities, the technology and the processes to be able to achieve such a thing. In fact, we have worked on not quite ICO conversion to equity, but when we did the original Bitfinex round, the only way to purchase equity in Bitfinex was using your the Bitfinex BFX token, which was issued to those that were victims of a hack in 2016. And you could convert those tokens at a fixed price of $1 for equity in Bitfinex. So people were able to purchase those tokens on the Bitfinex exchange and then use those. They could have, for example, purchased at 30 cents and then converted those into $1 of equity, which instantaneously locked in a 70% gain. We have the platform, the technology, and the ability to be able to do that. We just don't frequently get that request. But if there's a major compliance change and lots of these tokens decide that it's time to convert to their utility token to a security token or equity, then we have the ability with all of the technology and processes that we built to be able to facilitate such a thing, especially through the securities token exchange, where you'll be able to swap one token for another and use the BnkToTheFuture identity solution in the middle, or you could and then store those on your BF wallet. So we certainly are building the technology to be able to do that. And if a great use case comes and a great company comes along that wants to fulfill or do that, then they can apply for finance on BnkToTheFuture.com. Or you could write to our support team and we'll certainly look at whether we can bring that deal to you. It's a great question. It's an interesting use case. It's been done on a slightly different way with Bitfinex with us in the past. And we're certainly open to looking at whether that is something that adds value to both our investors or issuers. And so we certainly have the ability to do that.
Great, thanks for that. I just want to say thanks to our regular people that show up on the live. They're in the live chat asking questions. That's been good. So yeah, we have a question here about the portfolio section. Do you have any updates for that?
Yes, we do, but we prioritize. So just so you know, the roadmap at the moment, we're working two main solutions right now. The individual BnkToTheFuture identity is something that we're working on. A new verification integration that allows you to do your identity verification within seconds rather than having to wait for the long period of time that many people have to wait in the past. We also have the automation of deposits and withdrawals, both crypto and fiat. We've got the new banking integration in the pipeline at the moment. We're also onboarding the new team that we've brought in to work on the BnkToTheFuture token, the BF wallet, and the securities token exchange. So they're going to be busy working on our more blockchain part of the ecosystem. And the announcement we made today was on the fund section. The portfolio section is next in the roadmap after that. And we know that people are frustrated at the moment because there's a really nasty interface where you can't quite see the value of your companies. But the reason we did it with funds is because we want to make a distinction between security token, crypto assets, funds that can be used to invest, and longer term equity investments through your portfolio. It's in the pipeline. The drawings and the sketches and the wireframes have all been completed. It's just being queued. We're currently working on onboarding a lot of new team members. So we've been doing a lot of changes to our internal processes in order to bring and facilitate the growth. But at the same time, we've remained very conservative during the bear market. And that's why we've been here for so long, really, because we make sure that we do things in a way where it's sustainable for the long term. So yes, the portfolio section is definitely in the pipeline. It should be released certainly this year. But as you can see, there's a lot of other things that we've got in the roadmap that we're prioritizing. And we thank you for your patience. Bear with us. We'll get around to that.
Okay, so I have a newbie question. The difference between utility and security tokens, please.
This is an interesting story in order to understand the difference. So Bitcoin came around and shaped up the world. It gave people the ability to own their own money. And it was very much pitched as a peer-to-peer electronic cash, a cryptocurrency. The goal of it was to allow people to own their own money, spend their own money, and have a fixed money supply or a cryptocurrency supply, and have an anti-inflationary, deflationary way of combating central banks that are printing too much money and creating either hyperinflation or deflation cycles. So Bitcoin kind of gave people the ability, a way to own their own money. Now, the innovation that came from that is that people started to look at how you could use Bitcoin for more things. And so we started to get disruption in capital markets as people started to issue tokens that were built on top of Bitcoin. And these tokens were essentially known as ICOs, or in the early days, they were known as IPOs. I remember, I don't know if anyone was around, but some of the real early websites were the blockchain, the Great British Blockchain Exchange, GBSX or something like that, got shut down by the FSA at the time. There was Crypto Stocks, which was issuing bonds and stocks via the blockchain on Bitcoin. That got shut down by the SEC or the FBI, I think, in the end. And then later, there were people that were just issuing them on the blockchain without the centralized site in the middle. And the area for contention became that every country in the world has a different definition of a security. And so this whole concept of a utility token came about because these cryptocurrencies could be used for things. Take the BnkToTheFuture token. It can be used to get payments, to get 50% discount on trading fees. It can be used as a rewards token so that we can distribute them and rewards people for engaging in our ecosystem. It can also be used as a membership to unlock priority access to deals. So it's not necessarily an investment. It has utility. It can be used for certain things. It can be used to support the ecosystem. The contentious part about that is that some people come along and they take these and they think they're kind of like stocks. They start investing in these as if they were the company or the security. But if it is treated as a cryptocurrency versus treated as an investment security, then there's lots of different laws and regulations that you have to adhere to in order to do that. So the difference between a utility token and a security token is simply in the way that it is sold. A utility token is not allowed to be sold as an investment, and there has to be substance around that this token can be used and has utility. A security token doesn't necessarily need to have any utility, and it can just be sold as an investment product, but it has to then comply with securities laws, which means that it can't be traded on a cryptocurrency exchange. It could only be traded on a securities exchange or a securities token exchange. And those are two very different things. And the two the further complication is depending on which country you're in, then it could be a security token in one country and a utility token in the other. So it's an ultra disruptive thing. FINRA and the SEC just launched a joint statement, and all governments around the world are trying to navigate around this. And so really the difference is that a utility token is designed to be used for the utility that and the function it offers, whereas a security token is an investment. But if it's a utility token, it can be traded on a cryptocurrency exchange. If it's a security token, it only can be traded on a compliant security token exchange.
Okay, we have less than 10 minutes left on the clock. So I'm just going to ask one last question. I'm just going to check the live chat quickly, just in case there's something else. Nope. Okay, just going to go with a question from last week. Which portfolio company do you think will have the largest valuation in the coming years?
That would be me moving too much over to financial advice, and we are a non-advisory platform. Unfortunately, we're not regulated. Well, not unfortunately, we wouldn't want to do it anyway in such a speculative industry. We require you to do your own research, you to make your own speculations, and we're not allowed to actually give any kind of financial advice or projections or forecast in terms of values. All we can do is present the information as it is, give you the tools and in order to make your own decisions, and then you can decide which ones you think have value, because what has value to one person does not necessarily have value to another. And if the company is succeeding, then we create the secondary market where you can place an over-the-counter trade, be matched up with other people that might think, well, I'm willing to purchase at this price, and you might be willing to sell at that price, depending on your circumstance, whether you need liquidity, whether you think it's overvalued, whether you think it's undervalued. But it's not my place to give you advice around how you should be building your portfolios. Bank to the Future just gives you the investment opportunities and the tools to be able for you to be able to figure out whether you think it's under or overvalued, or what you think is going to have the greatest increase in valuation over time. The key to that is diversification. And yeah, well, I'm not here to tell you which ones I think are good investments. The approach that I've always followed is to be well diversified, and one of the reasons why I co-founded BnkToTheFuture.com is so that I can just invest across a wide pool of things, because the cryptocurrency market just changes so frequently, and so many times I get surprised by the market. And so those are up to you to do your own research and make your own investment decisions. So thank you very much for those questions, Famida. I hope this content was useful. Please do remember, like this channel, retweet, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell notification on the YouTube channel so that you actually get emails every time we go live. Let us know what you'd like to see next week. This week, we returned to questions last week. If you use the hashtag BFLive, if you use the comments, maybe you're watching the recording of this and you want to leave a comment below the video or the tweet or the Facebook page or wherever it is that you're watching it. And we can endeavor to answer that next week. We go live each and every week. We've only ever missed it once when Google was down. If we had this multi-channel set up then, we would have gone live anyway without Google. But that's going to do it for episode 22 of Bank to the Future Live. Thank you. Over and out.